Hello, guys. The last time I did a story for you guys, the audio quality wasn't very good. I had the same phone, but I was using a voice recorder. It doesn't work very good. But now I'm going to tell you guys a story this morning, and I'm doing a little bit different format, so maybe the audio quality will be much better. Anyway, this story's called The Mercury Tracer. So, me and my grandmother, years and years ago, she needed a new car. She was talking about how she wanted to buy a new car and everything. But she didn't have a whole lot of money because she was on a pension. But she wanted a later model car, a newer car, and she drove, but she wasn't a real good driver. She was one of these drivers always let somebody else drive her car for her, generally, because her driving skills were like, let's just put it this way, it left a lot to be desired. She drove extremely slow, and she was too careful, and she never was a good driver, but she loved to have a car because it represented freedom for her, and she always kept a car. So she decided she wanted a later model car. And so I went out and started looking for her, and I found all the cars were a little bit out of her price range. A little bit later model cars were kind of out of her price range. So I knew how to do auto body repair and mechanic work, And I said to her, okay, I'll go and I'll try to find you a car. So I went around and tried to find her a car for a few weeks and looked at quite a few nice cars, but they're out of her price range. So I went to this place that I don't know how I found it, but they had a place where they had cars that had been wrecked. And I found a car, and it was a nice little car, and it was only like 2 years old, and only had like 20,000 miles on it, But the thing was they had an accident, and they flipped the car over. Now, what type of car it was called a Mercury Tracer, and it was a cute little car, just right for her, and but the roof had been completely crushed right down to the top of the seats, and every windshield was broken in it, And it was very cheap, though, and it had a good drivetrain, and I mean, everything worked good, except it hadn't taken any undercarriage damage at all. It's just that somebody had, I guess, flipped the thing and then landed right on its roof, smack, and broke the front windshield, the rear windshield, and broke every windshield in the thing and smacked the roof right down on top of the seats. So I took her that day, she was having her tea and everything, sitting in there. I said, Flora, I found you the perfect car for you, and it's in your price range, and it's almost new. She got all excited. Oh, I can't wait to see it. Let's go see it. So I said, okay, come on. So we all hopped in the car, me, my mother, and my grandmother, and we went to see this car. I had already seen the car, and I knew that it was probably the right car for her. So she walks into the garage where they're keeping the car, And she takes one look at it, this Tracer, with the roof all smashed down on top of the seats. She walks right out of the garage. I don't want that car. I don't want that car. That car's not for me. That's not my car. She goes down. She sits in the car. And so I got talking to her a little bit. I said, Flora, I used to call her Flora, I don't know why I didn't call her Granny, but she liked being called Flora. I said, Flora, that car, I can fix it. And you won't never know that the roof was smashed or anything like that, And I think the car was only like $1,200, And I'd already phoned a few scrap dealers, and they told me they'd let me have the windshields real cheap, I think it's like $250 for all the windshields and everything, And the roof could be repaired. I knew the roof could be repaired, And so I said, that car, it's really, it won't look like that when I'm done with it. I'll fix it for you, I said, and I'll do all the work for free, and you don't have to worry about that, I said, and I'll get the parts and everything else. And she said, well, how much is the parts going to cost? She used to have a high-pitched, squeaky voice, especially when she's a bit excited, So she was, basically, I got talking to her for a while, and she says, well, okay, I'll trust you to take care of it for me and fix it for me. So I went and paid the guy for the car, and he towed it out to my house into the front driveway. And what I did was I got a couple car jacks and stuff. I got inside the car and I laid some planks on the floor to distribute the weight. And I used some cement blocks and stuff, and I put the cement blocks up, the right height of the roof, and I started jacking. And that old roof started coming back to shape again. I got the new windshields, and I laid them in and made sure that they positioned themselves, to where the old windshields were and stuff. And I installed the new windows and the doors and everything else, and got the roof and everything back up to where it was supposed to be. And it was quite a bit of work. I'll tell you, I was working on that car for quite a few days, getting the roof all straightened back out to where it was before, and then body working it, and sanding it and priming it and everything else. But I worked on that car for a while, right in the end of the driveway, and she watched out the window. I remember her standing there watching me working out the window and drinking her tea, and I'd come in and she'd say, "Oh, you're doing great, Hey, my car's coming." And after about a couple of weeks, I was spray painting it out there, buffing it and polishing it, and wiping the windows all down and everything. And it was a late model car, and all of the rest of the car wasn't damaged. The front hood and the rear and everything, and it all had original paint. I only spray painted the roof and stuff, and the damaged doorposts and everything, the same color and everything. I spray painted right out in the end of the driveway with a little air compressor and a little spray gun and everything else. So I got it all done, and oh my God, when I got that car looking good again, and looking like, almost looked like a pristine new car. I shined it all up and everything. And she come out and looked at it. Oh my gosh, didn't she take to that little car? She said, this is the best little car in the world. This is my car. Oh, it's the most wonderful car. Oh, look how shiny it is and everything. She's rubbing her hand across the hood. Oh, I love this car so much. It's just so great. Take me for a ride, she said, So I got inside and take her for a ride. And actually, it run really good because, it had real low miles on it, and everything. And it was a good little runner, It was actually a good little car, this Tracer. So anyway, later that fall, she decided she wanted to go to Florida, and it was getting cold up here in Canada and everything, and she decided she wanted to go to Florida. So me and her arranged this trip to go to Florida in the Tracer. We were going to drive down to Florida in the Tracer. So she was getting all excited, and I was getting excited too. We were going to drive down. I was going to do all the driving, and she was going to pay for all the gas, And she still had a place down there in Florida, and everything. And I had a place too, but I was trying to fix it up, getting ready for sale, the place I had in Florida. So anyway, we decided to go. I was going to work when I was down there fixing my place up, and she was going to stay in my place, and we were going to drive down, and we figured 3 days should be enough for us to drive down and everything, And it is quite a long drive. We had a nice little car to drive in the Tracer and everything, We were going to get a hotel or motel each night, for 2 nights on the way down and everything. So me and my grandmother, she's packing everything into the car, and time to go. So she always used to pack a lot of stuff. Now I had one little bag put in the back. It was the size of the bags you'd take on a carry-on on an airplane, But she was coming out with all these boxes and bags and boxes. Quite literally, she just kept coming with all this stuff. Some of them were heavy, felt like they had bowling balls inside them and stuff, boxes and boxes. Now, this car was a hatchback. I opened up the rear of the hatch of that car, and I was putting all her stuff in. And then I had the hatch all filled with her stuff, box after box after box, all this stuff. And the car started to get heavy, It's the wheels base in the rear, as you could see, it was getting a little bit soggy, because of all the weight. Had the whole back end full. And then she kept coming with stuff and started filling the rear seats right on up full, Finally, it got to the point, where I couldn't get anything more in. She completely filled the car stuff. You know? And I had this one little bag in the back seat, sitting across the back seat. That was all I had. It was buried underneath all these boxes and bags and everything else. And she kept coming out. Well, finally she came out with the last thing, and I said, Flora, my car's getting too heavy. I said, and there's no room in there anymore. We can't stuff any more in. I won't be able to see out the back, you know. And she said, well, all right, I guess I can't take these bottles of grape juice. I got these for Bonnie. See, Bonnie still lived down in Florida, you know. She says, I got these bottles of grape juice for Bonnie, and I bought them special to take down. Are you sure there's no more room in there? I can't get these bottles of grape juice in there. I said, it's all the way up to the ceiling. I can't see out now. I said, in the back, and the rear is completely packed full. I said, and look at the springs on the car. It's getting right down heavy, you know. I said, we just can't do it. We can't take them. I'm sorry. She said, well, all right. And I always remember her marching back into the house with these bottles of grape juice, you know. So anyway, come the morning we were going to leave. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's a disease out there. I have it. It's called irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. Well, my grandmother had that disease her whole life in spades. It plagued her. It would hit her out of nowhere with a cramp down in her stomach, you know. And she, I mean, quite literally, she would have to actually run to find a toilet, you know, and when it hit her. And it hit her at the weirdest times, you know. Sometimes she'd be someplace where there isn't any toilets, you know, and it would hit her. And she was plagued with it her whole life. She loved tea, too. Here's the thing about her. I've never seen a woman love tea before. Honest to God, she'd wake up in the morning. She's just like a person, you know, some of these people who love their smokes, you know, they wake up in the morning and they have to have a smoke first thing and they have to have a smoke right before they go to bed and everything else. Well, she was like that with tea. But here's the thing. She always had this big mug. It's like 32-ounce size mug. You know, she liked to get them from the stores. They were really for cold drinks, you know. These big 32-ounce mugs, they were like made out of hard plastic, and they had a little insulative shell around them, you know. And she'd make her tea in one of those, kept it warm. She always had a cup of tea with her in her hand. Always. All day long. And she drank about 6 of them in a day. Quite seriously. It's where she got all of her liquids. She'd never, ever drink water. Never. I mean, on pain of death, she'd drink water. She had to have this cup of tea. And if she went without her cup of tea, she'd get like trembly and nervous and everything else. It's like just like any addict. She was addicted to it, I guess. Loved her tea. Oh my gosh, just loved her tea. Had to have that tea mug everywhere she walked. She'd have that tea mug in her hands, walking around, you know. And she had this irritable bowel syndrome, like I say, you know. I don't know. Maybe the tea, maybe so much tea she drank was causing the irritable bowel. I just don't know exactly what was going on. But anyway. So the morning she left, we were going to leave. I starting up early in the morning. I had the car all warmed up, you know, and I was sitting out in the driveway idling it, getting it all ready to go and everything. And she was coming down the stairs, you know, with her cup of tea in her hand. And she kind of ambling down the stairs with one hand on the rail and plodding her feet down one after another. You know, she's kind of a chubby woman, you know, quite overweight, you know, and her cup of tea in one hand. And she had these big brown boots on. And they come up to about her knees, you know. They were nice, stylish boots, anyway, she was wearing. She's coming down the stairs, plodding down the stairs one to a time, and ambling her way up to the car, ready to go. Because that time of life, I guess she must have been in her 60s, late 60s maybe, mid to late 60s. I was still only a young pup. Anyway, I was out there waiting in the car, you know, had the car idling. She come ambling up to the car and sat down in her seat, and boy, was she ever happy. We were going to Florida, and it was cold that day, you know. That's why she had the boots on. I think there was quite a bit of snow on the ground, you know, and everything. And it was really cold that day, and we started driving off, and both of us were in a great mood, you know. And we're heading on down the highway, and she was even singing a few songs and stuff, you know, and we were really enjoying ourselves, the two of us. So we drove all the way through, and we got into New Brunswick. Now, when we got into New Brunswick, there was a lot more snow than there was in Nova Scotia. I think it was around December, anyway, if I remember right. There's a lot more snow on the ground. And in fact, they had a snowstorm, and it must have been a doozy because the ditches were all full of snow, and it was like heaped up over the ditches, you know. And it was cold, bitter cold, the weather in New Brunswick, too. And wind was blowing and everything else. So we got on the freeway, and we were traveling through New Brunswick. Long stretches of freeway. 2 lanes going this way and 2 lanes going that way, and a big meridian in the middle where there's like a deep ditch, you know. And you can't turn around on those freeways. And there's like a deep ditch on either side, you know, and it's just straight through. And if you stop, you can't go backwards either. It's like one way. And we got in a spot there. Just so happened. Like, we got on this spot, long stretch, on that freeway in New Brunswick. And it must be a 10-mile long stretch with no exits. There's no exits at all. And there's no way to go back. And there's just big piles of snow on either side of the road. And this big ditch between the 2 highways, and we were going through there, and all of a sudden it hit her. It always picks, you know, if you have that disease, it always picks the most inopportune times to hit you. All of a sudden your stomach, I got it too, so I know exactly what she's going through. All of a sudden your stomach will just let out a twist. It's like you feel this twist in your stomach, and you're like, oh no, it's coming. Oh no. You know? And it's a worse feeling, you know, but you can't stop it once it starts. Oh my God, it's coming. And you haven't. So this is what hit her. This feeling, this twist in her stomach. She's looked over at me and she's like, I gotta go. I gotta go. I knew exactly what she meant. She says, I gotta go now. I gotta go now, she says. And I was like, Flora, the next exit's like 10 kilometers from here. And nothing behind us. And so I said, you're going to have to wait until the next exit 10 kilometers. She said, how long that's going to take? How long is that going to take? And I was like, it's going to take about maybe, let's see, 10 kilometers. She's like, I can't. She started getting frustrated. I can't. I said, Flora, it's going to take 10 kilometers to the next exit. That's the first bathroom I can get for you. You know? And she was like, starting to panic. And it's hitting me. Well, then all of a sudden it started to subside a little bit. She says, oh, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. It started to go away a little bit. You know, I said, okay, well, I'm going to rush to the next exit. And I put the metal to, I said, I put her up to like 120 kilometers an hour. You know, and that's really fast for me because I always drive the speed limit. I never break the speed limit, you know. So anyway, I was going along as fast as I could for her because this is kind of an emergency, guys, you know. This is an because I got the disease myself, irritable bowel, and I know what it's like, you know, when you got that. So I was putting the pedal down a little bit. I said, Flora, just wait. We're going to get there soon. We only got another 8 kilometers to go. 8 kilometers? I feel it coming again. Oh, no. This time, I can't stand it. I can't pull this car over. You know, so, okay. I pulled the car over to the side, you know. So the poor old girl opened the door. She got out of the car with these big boots on. And she says, you got any toilet paper here? Anything you got? So I reached around, and we went to Wendy's, you know, and I had an old Wendy's bag, and it had some of the face napkins, you know, the brown-colored face napkins. I said, here, and I handed her about 4 of those. She said, oh, great, thank you very much. And she got out of the car, slammed the door behind her. She started heading toward the woods. That way, toward the woods. So she got about 3 feet over that ditch, that crusty snow in the ditch. All of a sudden, poof, thump, down she went. Oh, my God. She went down to about her waist. And she screamed, help me! I got out of the car as fast as I could and ran around. What am I going to do? I started to walk over toward her, and I started to crunch down into it, too. And it must have been about 6 feet deep. So I reached out to her and grabbed her. I got you, I said. I got you, don't worry, I got you. And I grabbed her and I pulled her. I was able to pull her up and get her out and kind of help her to get back up on the solid ground again. So got her back up on solid ground. And she says, I still gotta go. You go over there. I'll take care of it, she says. I said, okay. I went over and got in the car. And I was looking over this way toward the woods, the other side of the freeway. And I was, while she was doing her business over there. I didn't look. Kept myself looking over toward the woods the other way, and she was doing her business over there. After about 2 or 3 minutes, she says, okay, I'm finished. And she was all decent again and everything. She got back in the car. Oh, she says, give me that cup of tea. I feel so much better. She says, this is so much better. Oh, that was wonderful. She says, I feel so much better now. Give me that cup of tea. And she started taking a few sips of tea. So anyway, I get in, I started the car up. Let's go. Started to drive off. Okay? I didn't get 300 meters down the road, or about 600 or 700 feet down the road, and I looked back, and I seen these pair of brown boots sticking up on the side of the road, sticking up like somebody was in them, like they're big boots. Flora, your boots. Oh, my boots! My boots! Go back and get my boots! I said, I can't. I can't go back and get them. It's 10 kilometers to the next exit ramp. And I said, it'd be 15 kilometers back to turn around. And it'd be hard for me to get them. And I said, somebody will probably steal them before I get back anyway. And she says, you're right. She said, leave them there. So we drove off, left those boots sitting there standing right up like they were somebody in them. So anyway, we started driving for Florida. We stopped and got a motel the first night, and I had to haul most of those boxes that were in the back seat into the motel room, A lot of work. I had to haul them back out in the morning, put them back in the car. Anyway, we continued driving, and we got down, and somewhere around, I guess, there's a place there where like 3 states joined together, West Virginia and North Carolina, whatever. There's a place there where the states like joined together. It's like a little small area there. We got down to that spot, and it's a lot warmer and nicer, And so we were driving in the middle of the night. And all of a sudden, Flora says, I'm out of tea. She says, I haven't had any tea in 2 hours. She says, you got to stop here at this place, this convenience store here. And it was like the middle of the night, And she says, you got to get me some tea. I got to have tea. I was like, well, okay. I'll stop at the convenience store and get you some tea. So I pulled down, took the exit ramp, and went off to the convenience store. And she had her mug, and she went in. And they had big front doors and glass windows in the front, and they had the doors were wide open, and they were held back with a couple of ropes holding the doors open, 2 big doors, and you went in, and the whole place was lit up real well and everything. It looked like a nice place and everything. So Flora was in there. She was looking at the tea machine and everything, trying to figure out how it worked. And she had her big mug, and she was she figured out she was going to get some hot water and tea bags and stuff, and she was working at it, And I was moseying through the store, looking at the stuff that they had and everything. And all of a sudden, we heard this rumbling coming down the highway. Whole big bunch of hogs, great. Like they're called it big motorcycles hogs, but they're choppers is what they were. Must have been a dozen of them. They pulled right into that convenience store. And I was like in the back of the convenience store, and there's like a side door too to the convenience store, I think there was, or something. It's like a small country store. And they come waltzing in there. And the store clerk, he disappeared. He took off and headed for the hills. And dozens of these guys come in there. And I'm telling you, they had like leathers and chains and everything else, and the big long beards, and they were cursing, and I kind of slipped out by them and slipped out to the car. Anyway, Flora saw them. Okay, and I'll tell you, the old girl's pretty smart, She slipped out by them too. Without them really noticing her much. Come out and got in the car. She said, "Let's get out of here." She said, "Let's get out of here." And I said, "Flora," I said, "you're right. Let's get out of here." In the middle of the night. There's about a dozen of them. Chains hanging off of them. I think one of them was carrying a chain with him. Just like dragging it, And that store clerk, he disappeared. He headed for the hills. I don't know where he went, but the store was wide open to them. They could take whatever they wanted. So we got driving down the freeway, and Flora looked at her tea mug. She held her tea mug up. She said, "You know what? I never paid for this." She said, "Let's go back and pay." By that time, I was 10 miles away. I said to her, "Flo," I said, "I'm not going back there and paying for that. No way." And I said to her, "Listen," I said, rationally, "we are actually 3 states away now from there where you just took that tea." And I said, "I'm not going back to those bikers. No way. To pay for a 50-cent cup of tea." So we continued on down, And we landed in Florida, in the afternoon. And she was in an awful good mood, And, we had a good trip that year down there in Florida. We had a lot of things we enjoyed doing, And we spent about, I think, 3 weeks or a month down there. And I was repairing the house, She was going places with Bonnie and going shopping almost every day, going shopping all day and going and seeing the sights and everything else. And it was a really good trip to Florida we had. Listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.